My name is Natalie. I'm 40 years old, and the moment I realized my mother had deliberately humiliated my 16-year-old daughter, Emma, was when she handed her a phone and said, "Sweetheart, can you take one of all the cousins with their gifts?" Emma was standing beside me with empty hands. Around the living room, every other grandchild was holding something from my mother. My sister's 2 boys had matching headphones. My brother's daughter had a handbag she had wanted for months. My youngest nephew had a new gaming controller. Emma had nothing. At first, I honestly thought there had been a mistake. Then my mother looked straight at Emma, smiled, and held out her phone. "Make sure you get the tree in the background." Emma took it without arguing. She stepped back while her cousins crowded together in front of the Christmas tree, laughing and comparing their gifts. I looked at my mother. She would not look back at me. 3 weeks earlier, she had been furious with me over something that had nothing to do with Emma. Emma had been selected to receive an academic achievement award at school. She had worked all year for it, and the school invited families to an evening ceremony. The afternoon before the ceremony, my mother called. My younger sister, Rachel, had a retirement dinner to attend with her husband. Their babysitter had canceled. Mom said, "I told Rachel you could take the boys." I said, "Tomorrow night." "Yes, just for a few hours." I reminded her about Emma's awards ceremony. Mom paused, then said, "Natalie, she's 16. She doesn't need her mother in the audience every time someone hands her a certificate." I felt my chest tighten. "It matters to her, so I'm going." Mom sighed. "Rachel doesn't have anyone else." "Then Rachel needs to find someone else." That should have been the end of it. It was. Mom called again. Then Rachel called. Dad texted that family needed to be flexible with each other. I stayed firm. The next night, I sat beside my husband in the school auditorium, and when Emma's name was called, she searched the crowd until she found us. The smile on her face told me I had made the right choice. Afterward, Mom did not congratulate her. She sent me one message. "I hope you're happy. Rachel had to miss the dinner because you refused to help." I did not answer. For the next few weeks, Mom was polite but cold. I assumed she would eventually get over it. I did not realize she had decided that if I would not accept punishment for saying no, she would make sure my daughter felt it instead. At the holiday gathering, gifts were already stacked beneath the tree when we arrived. Emma helped my mother carry food. She complimented the decorations. She sat with her cousins and talked like nothing was wrong. After dinner, Mom announced that she had a little something for all the grandchildren. She handed out the packages one by one. One for Noah. One for Tyler. One for Sophie. One for Caleb. One for Lucy. Emma sat beside me, smiling while everyone opened theirs. When there were no gifts left, she glanced at me. Just one quick look. I leaned toward Mom. "Did you leave Emma somewhere?" Mom did not pretend to search. "No." I waited. She turned away and started asking my sister's boys if they liked their headphones. I said, "Mom, you gave every grandchild a gift except Emma." Rachel looked down. That was when I knew she already understood what was happening. Mom finally said, "Natalie, not everything has to become a scene." "I'm asking why." "And I answered you." Emma touched my arm. "Mom, it's okay." That made me angrier than anything my mother had said, because Emma was trying to protect me from a conflict someone else had created around her. Then Mom picked up her phone. She smiled at Emma. "Sweetheart, can you take one of all the cousins with their gifts?" The room changed. Every adult understood what had just happened. Emma reached for the phone anyway. I stood up and gently took it from her hand. I gave it back to my mother. "No, she won't." Mom stared at me. "Excuse me. If Emma isn't included as a grandchild when you're giving gifts, she isn't going to stand behind the camera while you pretend this is one happy family." Rachel said, "Natalie, it's just a photo." "No, the photo is the smallest part of this." Dad stepped in. Everybody calmed down. I asked Mom one last time. "Why did you leave Emma out?" She folded her arms. Then she said the sentence that removed every doubt. After the way you behaved over Rachel's babysitting situation, I thought maybe you and Emma had decided you didn't need the rest of the family. I stared at her. I said no, because my daughter was receiving an award. And you made your choice. Yes, I chose to show up for my child. Mom shrugged. Well, choices have consequences. I looked at Emma. She was staring at the floor. That was when I understood exactly what my mother thought she was teaching me. She believed if she hurt Emma badly enough, I would learn not to say no to her again. If your own mother punished your child because you refused to cancel an important night for her, would you keep trying to explain yourself, or would that be the moment you walked away? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about family boundaries, favoritism, and consequences, subscribe to Real Stories of Women. I picked up our coats. We're leaving. Mom followed us to the hall. You are embarrassing yourself. I turned around. No, Mom, you tried to embarrass my daughter. There's a difference. Dad asked us to stay. Rachel said we were ruining the evening. Before we walked out, Mom said, "You're proving my point." What point? That you always put yourself first. Emma stopped. She looked directly at my mother. She was at my awards night because I asked her to be there. Mom said nothing. Emma continued. I knew why you didn't give me a gift. I looked at her. She had known. You kept looking at me when everyone else was opening theirs. My mother's face changed. Emma opened the door. We left. In the car, I apologized to her. She told me not to. Then she said, Grandma wanted me to feel bad so you would feel bad. A 16-year-old had understood my mother's strategy more clearly than the adults who had spent years excusing it. That night, Dad texted that Mom had gone too far, but I should call after everyone cooled down. Rachel said her boys were upset because I had made Christmas awkward. Mom sent one sentence. I hope you're proud of what you did tonight. I did not answer. The next morning, a photo appeared in our extended family group chat. All the grandchildren were standing in front of the tree with their gifts. Emma was not in it. Mom wrote, so grateful for family. My aunt asked, where's Emma? Normally, I would have protected my mother with some vague excuse. This time I typed the truth. Emma left because she was the only grandchild deliberately given no gift. And then Mom asked her to take the photo of everyone else holding theirs. I sent it. The group went silent. Mom called immediately. I declined. Then she texted, you had no right to humiliate me in front of the family. I replied, you did it in front of the family. I only told them what they saw. Later that day, Rachel called. She admitted Mom had been complaining for weeks about the awards ceremony. Mom had told her I needed to learn that family works both ways. Then Rachel admitted something worse. Mom had mentioned leaving Emma out of the gifts before the party. Rachel had told her it was a bad idea, but she never warned me. I thought she was just venting, Rachel said. I answered, but when she actually did it, you told me I was the one ruining Christmas. Rachel went quiet. That conversation changed something for me. For years, my family had treated my mother's anger like weather. If she was upset, everybody adjusted. If she wanted something unreasonable, the easiest person to pressure was expected to give in. And when someone finally refused, Mom looked for leverage. This time, she had chosen my daughter. The next day, I sent both of my parents a message. Emma would not be attending family events at their house for the foreseeable future. Mom was not to contact her directly to explain, justify, or guilt her. And if she wanted a relationship with Emma again, the first step was a real apology that did not include the words, but, you misunderstood, or your mother made me. Dad called and said I was making the punishment too severe. I said, this isn't punishment, it's access. You don't get unlimited access to a child you intentionally hurt. A week later, Mom mailed Emma a Christmas card with a gift card. There was no apology. I returned it. A month later, She sent another card. I'm sorry your feelings were hurt. I returned that one too. Dad told me I was being impossible. I said, an apology doesn't blame the person who was hurt for having feelings. Almost 2 months after the holiday dinner, Mom finally asked to meet me alone. We sat in a coffee shop. For the first 20 minutes, she defended herself. She said she had been angry. She said she felt taken for granted. She reminded me of all the times she had helped me. I listened. Then I asked one question. What did Emma do to you? Mom stopped talking. What did my daughter do that deserved being singled out in front of every cousin? She looked down. Finally, she said, nothing. That was the first honest thing she had said about it. I told her anger at me did not give her permission to use my daughter as a weapon. Eventually, she said, I wanted you to understand how it felt when family doesn't show up for you. I said, Emma's awards night was me showing up for my family. Mom had no answer. She eventually apologized to Emma directly. This time, she did not make excuses. Emma accepted the apology, but she did not immediately go back to spending time at my parents' house. I let that be her choice. For months, visits happened only when I was there. My mother stopped using gifts as a way to reward or punish grandchildren. Rachel stopped assuming I would rearrange my life whenever she needed childcare. But the biggest change was in me. I stopped explaining every no. I stopped trying to make my boundaries sound reasonable enough for everyone to approve them. Sometimes no is a complete answer. My mother wanted to teach me that choices have consequences. She was right. I chose my daughter. And the consequence was that my family finally learned they could no longer punish her to control me.